So there's this Facebook group that I'm on, and probably like you, I'm a member of hundreds, maybe thousands of them. Anyway, so this particular one this morning was talking about asking us to consider this time, this COVID time, to be a pause in our day-to-day work, a pause in the busy lifestyle and scheduling and all of that sort of stuff. And I'm acutely aware of the privilege I have in even being able to say that. And so they were saying, it's like an opportunity for a clean sweep, something new. What are you going to do with this change that you've been, given? And then immediately my mind went to that, and I think probably a lot of you will really understand this, that pre-colonoscopy protocol where you just do have a clean sweep of your entire digestive system. And I think it's a little bit like that, where you can say, what sort of food am I going to put into my newly cleaned colon? Thank you. I'm impressed. If you're still here after that little intro, well done you. If it triggered any horrible memories of drinking that vile stuff, just put something in the comments and we'll get back to those later. My guest today is Ian Ugarte, and he is very much hands-on. So when we jumped online at 4 o'clock to say good day and do the tech check, Ian was actually covered, his nice black shirt was covered in cement dust. Wasn't it, Ian?
Yeah. Showing my hands, like that's my pasty little white hands.
You're still covered in it. But do you know what he used? Gaffer tape to get it off. I mean, expensive and brilliant.
That's a trick of the trade that we've been using for years and years.
Yeah, well, I'd probably use masking tape or something a bit cheaper than gaffer.
That's I've just got too much money. I just buy rolls of gaffer.
I can see that. And what does your T-shirt say, Ian?
It says, keep calm and let Ugarte handle it. So, and most people think that's an ego statement, but it's not. It's like more about what we do with other stuff in our life.
Yeah. A little bit of comedy there and poking fun at things. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Ian, what's your first piece of random shit that you'd like to share?
People may not know this. I am a plumber by trade, so I'm a licensed plumber. Mm-hmm. But I also have a diploma in colonic irrigation. So, absolutely. And so when you talk about colonoscopy, that's the devil to us. We don't want people getting colonoscopies because what that barium and that clear out does to your colon is awful. But so what I can tell you is that I've probably done the plumbing and installed maybe for 7, 8 different colonic clinics down the East Coast. And of which there's been a couple where I've installed the machines and also been a practitioner and performed the colonic irrigations on people as well.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
So when I talk about shit, random shit, like I'm serious, I handle it from the mouth to the treatment system. Oh, the other thing you probably don't know about me too is I actually hold 7 worldwide patents on the treatment of domestic wastewater on site. So not only do I do it from mouth to the body to the pipes, but I can then treat it at the back end as well.
You really are completely full of shit, aren't you, Ian?
And I'm officially the only person at any party that can actually tell people they are full of shit because I have that ability to do so.
Oh, that's so gorgeous. So is that your first piece of random shit that you're sharing with us? Do you have something to show us, or are you just telling us a story?
Well, I can add more shit to it, but as a plumber, probably the first piece of random shit that I would tell you is my favourite all-time plumbing story, which if you haven't lost them on the colonoscopy, you may lose them now.
Okay.
But I was working on a treatment system. I used to live on the Hawkesbury, so boat access properties. So I turned up to this job site one day, septic tank pump was blocked. I sort of disconnected the pump, and there was some fur and stuff in the pipe. And I knew that this pipe went down into the tank and didn't have what they call a foot valve or a check valve. So I could blow like a straw, I could blow bubbles down, but obviously you're blowing down a long way. So what I did was, and plumber with immunity, corona doesn't bother me because my immunity is so strong from all the shit that's been in my mouth for years. So I sort of just wiped the edge of the pipe and I blew down to see if I could get bubbles to come out. And there was a lot of pressure there. So what I did was I created a hydraulic ram. So I pushed a blockage down into the water, but then the water wanted to equalise. So when it equalised, I pulled my mouth away and it equalised, and the blockage was actually a tampon, and it shot out and hit me straight in the mouth. And I reckon that I laughed for about 20 minutes. I thought it was the funniest thing that had ever happened. I mean, people don't like that story, but I think it's the most awesome story ever.
I think that's an image that's going to stay with me for a very long time. And a lesson, don't flush those things down the toilet.
No, you shouldn't do that. It's wrong.
Oh, my God, that's a scream. I'm loving it. All right, now, while we've still got some viewers, I'm going to share my very sedate piece of shit. It's very sedate. I don't even want to share it now. It's like nothing compared to yours. I'm going to do it anyway. So, a newspaper. I found this newspaper, and it's March 11, 1964. So, pretty close to the time. It's 1st of May today. And I've got this is Parker Post. So, Erica Parker was a female journalist, obviously at that time, but she was amazing and this, hugely respected female journalist in a time where it was bloody hard to be a female journalist, really tough. Anyway, so she was doing the Parker Post, which is like, the helpline kind of thing. And there's this little, the last one says, this is from Hopeful. I'm very fond of the girl across the street, but I have never spoken to her. By the way she looks at me, I know she likes me too. How can I get to know her? And Erica writes back and says, Dear Hopeful, by saying, how do you do? Or the current teenage equivalent. Now, I'm curious, this was in 1964, so Erica's thinking that, just say, how do you do? And something's just fallen down. It's a teddy.
The teddy just committed suicide. The teddy heard colonoscopy, colonic irrigation and tampon, and it's jumped.
I know. And it's been waiting for this girl at the bloody gate, and she's not paying any attention to her. So tell me, write in, tell me, what is today's equivalent of how do you do for teenagers? I want to know. You've got teenagers, Ian, you could tell me.
Yeah, do you want to hook up?
Oh, okay. Yep. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that was her advice. And then just for him to exit his gate at the same time she is exiting hers. It's pretty simple, isn't it?
Who would have thought that just talking to someone would actually help you?
I know.
Like, it's crazy. Like, that crazy thought. Like, why wouldn't you just, back in 64, why wouldn't you use Tinder? Like, that's crazy. Can you swipe left on a 64 paper? I don't know.
Well, you probably could. Let me just see. That works. Or Zingles. I've heard this new thing called Zingles.
Zingles?
Zingles, yeah. Look it up. Yeah.
There's another one called Happens, which is you get onto Happens and it tracks your location, and then anyone else that's on Happens, it then alerts you how often you've gone past someone or close to someone in the last week. So they're talking about, you talk about 6 degrees of separation. So if you're within 30 foot of someone, 3 times in a week, then clearly you must be meeting. We should just put a bit of technology behind it. Crazy.
Oh, yeah, no, that's just a little bit frightening for my 57-year-old brain. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your second piece of random shit, Ian?
This is my second piece of random shit. This is what we call a soldering iron. And so timber handle, steel, and copper head, and it's used to, what you do is you heat up the end of this and you tin it, so you actually put solder on it, and it was used previously to be able to solder pieces of sheet metal together, because we didn't have silicon back in the old days. So my random piece of shit is my dad was actually the first migrant in New South Wales to achieve his plumber's license through the learning system in Australia, rather than just being a plumber overseas and coming to Australia. So he had a really tough time actually as a migrant, as you can imagine, back in the early 70s. So he arrived in 70. And I was born in 73. So I was Australian born to Spanish migrants. This soldering iron was what he used to get through his trade test. And then my brother picked this up, and when my brother became a plumber, he used it all the way through his plumbing apprenticeship. And then I picked it up as well, and I actually did 3 plumbing trade tests for different colleges to become teacher in those colleges too. So this soldering iron has now seen 2 generations, and of the second generation, 2 people. And I would doubt that any plumbing apprentice nowadays would ever see one of these. Like this is like a chimney sweep. They basically, the people that use these don't exist anymore. So coppersmiths is now no longer a trade. But that's my random piece of shit. That my dad was the first plumbing approved person in New South Wales going through the Australian system.
That's fantastic.
As a migrant. That's
a great story, Ian. I love that story. All right, now my second piece is, now I'm just going to have to call out to that's going on camera too, yeah. I'm just going to call out to the control room. What's this called again? Xeon processor. This is a Xeon processor. And what was the next bit? That no one cares about. Oh, that no one cares about. So apparently it's a Xeon processor, and my oldest son is a Apple technician. So we've got a couple of apples here. We've got this one here, and this one's really cool because it does this whole moving around thing. I just love that. And then there's this one here, and for his 21st birthday, I made a chocolate cake in the style of that Macintosh Plus. SE Plus. Yeah, an SE Plus. And then he's been taking all this stuff apart, and I really love the art of it. And there's this thing here which is like a bird's beak. Can you see that? It's like a bird's beak, and I just love this stuff. Anyway, I keep saying to him, Lewis, he's loath to throw things out anyway, particularly now that he's moved out and he's left it all here. But I really like this because it could be a brooch, couldn't it? Just like that. Why would you throw something like that away when it could be a brooch? But the problem is that it's not a brooch. But it could be.
Well, it could be. You could get a whole bunch of Xeon processors and make Xeon brooches and sell them at a market, Fisherman's Road, Yandina.
I could. You have to get up really early for those markets, though, Ian. I'd be crap at that.
Yeah, it's fair enough. You can turn up late.
I could. I don't think they'd like that. Anyway, all right, okay. So there you go. So that's my second piece of random shit. It's not nearly as exciting as, toilets or tampons or, such like, but there you go.
Life is full of ups and downs, really.
It is, and blockages and clear passages.
Who would have thought that a Xeon processor would be the down and the tampon would be the up?
I know! Certainly not me. Oh, God. All right, okay. Thank you. Thank you for being on the other end of the internet and, getting through all of that overthinking tech stuff. I had a call from your tech guy and we're talking all this stuff and I'm saying, you know what? It's just really easy. Let's just do Messenger.
Yeah, that works for me too.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Ian.
Thanks for having me.
That's a pleasure. Talk to you again soon.
Okay, ciao.
Thank you. Thank you for wading through all of that stuff. I hope that you're okay. I hope that there's enough time between now and your dinner or the next time you eat that you can forget about what we've just discussed. come back tomorrow because my guest is all the way from Tasmania. Up.
Oh, it's just live, wasn't
It was live. No editing. It was perfect.
All right, great.
Yeah, yeah, and you can share it. So just jump onto Stories from the Red Couch and you can share it.
All right, I'll do that.
Good on you. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.